Welcome to the Modern Direct Seller Podcast, where we talk about strategy, training, and systems to help you reach big goals and find success in direct sales. I'm your host, Becky Launder, a San Diego mama, marketing junkie, and sales strategist that has built several six-figure businesses and is on a mission to share the new modern ways to rock your biz. If you're a go-getter direct seller and looking for actionable strategies, you are in the right place. This is for you. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Modern Direct Seller Podcast. I am so thrilled to be here with you today as we have an amazing guest that I'm sure many of you know. Welcome to the podcast, Cindy Monroe, founder of 31 Gifts. How are you today?
Hi, I am so good. Thanks, Becky, for having me.
Absolutely. I am so excited to dive into this conversation and share your story with our listeners. I think so often direct sellers out there, they know the names or they know what it's like right now in the business, but they don't always know the story behind the business. And you have such a story to tell. So I'm thrilled for this.
Thank you. I'm excited. It'll be fun.
So good. Okay, well, tell us, Cindy, for those that don't know you, can you just do a quick little introduction? Let us know a little bit about your background and what you're up to.
Yeah, for sure. Well, on a personal note, I love being outside. It doesn't matter if it's boating, hiking, skiing, or walking the dogs. I've been married for 29 years to my best friend, and we are now empty nesters. Hard to even believe. I started 31 in 2003. I held the very first parties. I held the very first sales meetings in my living room. We shipped orders from our basement in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I kind of, just wore all the different hats. I absolutely never imagined that we would grow the business to almost 800 million and just have the ups and downs and the stories along the way. And while that number was never the goal, I think what has been the goal and has been my true passion is to just pour into so many women starting their own business and to inspire them to reach more of their potential and what their goals are. So that's been my passion and what's just driven me the whole time.
Oh my goodness. What a journey. And I feel like, 31, it's like a household name. It really is. In the direct sales world, people know 31. And I'm sure it wasn't like that from day one. So share a little bit of that journey and that story. I know everyone loves the glimpse of like the early days when you were first getting started or even overcoming some of those challenges because it probably wasn't always a walk in the park.
For sure. No, I go into that a lot in the book. I'm very vulnerable about how hard it was and then how amazing and rewarding it has been. I mean, there's so many ups and downs along the way. And I think that's in life in general. I think it's in business. I think it's in parenting. And so for me, the early days, everybody thinks it just was success overnight, but it took years to build that business. And, then whenever we did start seeing the success and the growth year over year just taken off, then it came with a lot of challenges. And so I know one of the things that has been so hard in direct sales are back orders and product availability and shipping times and things like that. But just to, walk through those days, those end of months where you would beat plan like 10 times on the last day of the month, or a sale would go bonkers and, you sell way more than you expect to sell. It doesn't matter what direct selling company you've been with. Those are just challenges and problems that we've all faced, and trying to communicate as much as possible to all of our, sales team leaders and distributors, consultants, the details behind it, the why behind it, and how we're going to move forward has just been a journey the whole time. But I think that, we started just being consistent with new product development, coming out with great product, great training. We developed leaders. And I would say that, those first few years, I was the leader. I was the director. I
Yeah.
was the national executive director, and so to say. So it was really whenever we started building those leaders and they started role modeling and leading their team is whenever the magic and the power really starts to happen. And I don't think that leaders in the sales fields really understand the influence and the power that they have in a direct sales company.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So you truly were kind of walking the walk in those early days, out there doing parties, leading teams, really
Mhm.
hands-on with the field. So fast forward today, I should have probably introed this at the beginning, but you just released a book
I
that
did.
dishes out all the details of what this journey has been like. So tell us more about that book. So it's More Than a Bag.
Mhm.
And I just was sharing before we clicked record. I've started reading it. I haven't got through the whole thing yet, but I probably will in the next week. So tell us, Cindy, what can we expect in reading the story behind 31 Gifts?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it's a roadmap for people who feel a calling to just set out on their own journey of success. I really hope that it's inspiring, encouraging, and it guides the reader to just learn some of the lessons that we've learned at 31. I hope that, the reader can really see that they can dare to not only dream about doing more, but they can combine their faith and vision and hard work and their community that they surround themselves with to bring those dreams to fruition. Like I already mentioned, I'm very vulnerable in the book about, mistakes we've made at 31 and how, we're all going to make mistakes. And I think that, I just share with how we got through those mistakes. I share, what are the fundamentals of direct selling and what are the things that worked for us and that we built the company on, and that some of the things that I still feel like works today and makes a successful direct seller.
Let's dive into that a little bit more because I love that you said that. There's things, and this has been a 20-year journey for you, and you've
Mhm.
seen a lot. And, some things in direct sales obviously change. Technology changes, things change in the way we're selling. But there's a lot that also probably hasn't changed in the last 20 years. So maybe from your perspective, what are some of those core areas that if you're in direct sales, if you're listening to this right now and you're thinking, what do I need to do to be successful? Because, there's a lot of training out there. There's a lot of people like me out there sharing training and ideas and different ways of running your business. But at its core, what do you think is the most important areas to really, really build a strong direct sales business?
So I think that just being consistent at, what you're good at. I think that some people think that you have to be great at this or great at that, or you have to have an outgoing personality to be successful or look a specific way. And I have seen women from all walks of life, every personality that have been successful at 31. And I think that the minute that a seller or a leader tries to do what someone else is doing,
Mm.
I think they begin to lose their mojo a little bit because they're not working in their natural strengths and their natural gifts. So I feel like that's one thing that's super important is to focus on what you're good at. And when your business is at its best, revert back to what you were doing in your business at that time. I think also having a strong why is something we talked about from the beginning at 31. I know there's books on it, but really understanding why you're doing this. And then, focusing on relationships. I think that is the key is you've got to focus on those relationships. And I think there's been a shift from that a little bit, but I do feel like that if you want to be successful, that really just standing in your strengths, having a strong why, and focusing on relationships.
Oh, those are good answers. I would say the same. Those relationships, are so key. And I think it's interesting, that maybe we have seen kind of a shift in that, especially with, social media and just the way people are showing up and connecting. But ultimately, I feel really strongly that that's what differentiates direct sellers from so many other brands out there is
Yep.
people's birthdays and their kids' names and you remind them when they might be interested in purchasing something that is, one of their favorites. And I just think it's one of those topics that I feel like I do a lot of training on, but really at its core, it's like you just have to talk to people. You have to
Right.
talk to people, get to know people, learn how to best serve them, and build up those relationships in a big way. And I don't believe any technology or hack or shortcut can really replace that. So I couldn't echo that anymore.
For sure.
Okay, so in these 20 years, you've learned a lot around, leadership, leading one of the biggest direct selling companies in North America. That's huge. So from your personal journey, what are some of those big leadership lessons that you feel like you've walked away with that you want others to know about too?
I think one of them would be staying focused on my own goals when everyone else is spiraling with distractions. And our world is full of distractions right now. I think in direct sales, especially, your team can start spiraling with distractions. Your peers can start spiraling with distractions. Whether you say it's staying in your lane, whether you say it's focusing on your goals and your purpose, I think that is one of the number one lessons that I learned as a leader. And then whenever I stay focused on where I'm going, people follow. It's amazing. People will follow you. I think also communicate often during times of uncertainty. So if there are back orders or if there are shipping or if, whatever happens, communicating often. And that can come from the home office, but I think it also can come from the sales field leadership. And so just communication is key any time of uncertainty or anytime there are distractions. The last thing I'll share that I've personally really had to learn over and over again is to focus on the things that we've done right. I feel like a lot of people struggle with this, but so many times I felt like a failure. And instead of using that as a stepping stone to confidently move on to the next challenge, I would let that emotion hold me back. I would let it keep me from moving forward, or moving at all. It would sometimes cause me to take steps backwards. And so that probably leads into, my personal definition of success is moving one step forward. And if I'm moving one step forward, then I know that I'm not gotten stuck in that emotion of feeling like a failure.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a little imposter syndrome there too.
Right.
For all of us, right? Just this thought of like, who am I to be the one that is leading this big company or training direct sellers or fill in the blank, whatever that might be. And
Right.
I think especially as women, we struggle with that even more.
Yes.
It's just a constant struggle of building that confidence and feeling good about, like you said, taking a step forward each day. So I love that perspective. So good. So good.
Thank you.
So this industry continues to evolve. Every day it's changing and growing. And, there's always a rising trend. There's always something coming up. And, I think that this year looks very different than the last 2 years. So I know many direct sellers out there listening are thinking like, well, what's next? Like, what is the next 12 months going to bring for my business? Where should I be focusing? Should I be hanging out on Facebook? Should I be looking at Instagram? Should I be focused on my team? Should I be focused on my personal sales? I think it's a constant struggle around focus and kind of staying ahead of what's coming. So what would you say to that? What would be your best tips to, really stay ahead? And also any thoughts on kind of where the industry is heading over the next couple of years?
Yeah, for sure. So I think that we're having this like post-pandemic adjustment still. And I really feel like that we're going to go back. And this is what you were talking about a while ago, but we're going to go back to personal connections. I think we have to, because over, the years, or maybe it's just the last couple of years, either way, so many of our sellers have shifted to social media or broad communications, which no longer sets us apart. Like you were saying, it doesn't set us apart from big box stores or online brands. There's so many online brands out there. I get new promotions in my Instagram feed all the time.
They have a bigger budget in advertising than us too.
Right.
Yeah.
But if we're just trying to do that, then we're not setting ourselves apart from them. And so I think that simply sharing the products, that has never been our differentiator. It is how we share it. We get to know our customer. And just like you were saying, whether it's knowing their kids' names or that they have a dog or a cat, we get to share our products and how our product can meet their specific need. And I think that whenever we broadcast on, social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, we immediately broaden our message so that it applies to a broad audience, because we're not going to make it super targeted because we're like, oh, well, we're talking to 500 people or we're talking to 1,000 people. And so we just broaden it, and it's just vanilla. It's not very magical. It's just kind of vanilla. And so I feel like that where we shine in direct sales and what we can get back to this year is finding our own strengths, where we want to show up, how we want to connect with our customers. Some of us love to do it belly to belly. Some of us want to do it from our home office. Either way is fine. But I think really figuring out how you're going to connect, how you're going to build those relationships with your best customers, and how we can target specific products or solutions for that season of their life. And so I think that, really trying to figure out, like, did they just have a baby, or did they just get a new home? Like, we used to know those things, and we would target our solutions for that event in their life. And so now we just kind of are broadcasting a little too much. It's a little too vanilla. And I want to really see the industry and our sellers get back to their own pixie dust. What is it that they can add to their customers that sets them apart from any of these other big, online brands that are just popping up in their newsfeed?
Yes. Oh, I love that so much. And I think you're exactly right. And that we've gotten in this habit of, I would say a one-to-many broadcast, right? Like, you're talking to many people at the same time because, heck, it seems a lot more efficient to do it that way. But really, the magic is happening, especially if you're running an online virtual business, that magic is happening in the one-to-one conversations. And that's happening in the DMs. It's happening in the PMs. I just had an episode that I recorded with a very, very top leader. And she said, you don't see all the things I'm doing behind the scenes in my business, but I'm in the conversation with my customers and I'm ordering items for them before they even ask for them because I know they're going to want them. Right.
Yeah.
So being able to track that kind of information and really serve customers in a big way, even if it is virtual, and you're not in home doing parties,
right?
It's still very much possible, but it is a different mode of communication. And we put so much of an emphasis on what to post today on social media that I think sometimes we forget that it really is in those conversations happening behind the scenes of social media that create some big results. So I couldn't love that more. And I hope that is exactly where we are headed over the next couple of months, because I really do feel like that's where the magic happens and it keeps us competitive and relevant too.
Yeah. And I think that it's more rewarding for our sellers. So I know that these last few months, companies in our industry have struggled with sponsoring new team members to join their business. And I think it's because we're not getting that feedback, that relationship feedback. Relationships are two ways. We get something out of it as well. And so if we're only broadcasting and there's not a two-way relationship or conversation, then we're not getting what we used to get out of it. And I think that we talk about endorphins so much, and we get more endorphins by chatting with one of our best customers or talking about, what monogram she's going to get on it or what the baby's name's going to be or where she's going to put this in her new house. There's so many conversations that are so much fun, and you are missing out as a seller if you're not pouring back into yourself with those conversations and the investment. And it just builds confidence from your customers. They want to come back to you. They want to recommend you. If you're not getting the referrals you used to get, it's probably because they don't see your bedside manner, so to say, or they don't see the relationship that maybe they used to see from you or feel from you.
Well, and diving into that just a little bit more, because I think that that's so true. And I think so often direct sellers have in their head, like, oh, I'm being pesky. Or if I send them a direct message, I might be kind of annoying people, or that might kind of turn them off if I'm checking in with them or asking questions about their new baby or whatever, their new home, whatever that might be. But I think what I'm hearing from you is that that's actually just part of what we do in direct sales. And those customers actually really look forward to hearing from you. So it's a mindset shift right there.
Yes, for sure. No, they almost expect it from you. And, they know that they're supporting your business and they want to know how you can help them. And so if we're not showing up to help them, then I think it can come back to, why do I need to support her versus just going and buying this at Target or somewhere else, right? So I think that just really thinking about, there's an expectation for us to show up for our customers. And when we do meet that expectation or even exceed it, oh my goodness, she will refer you all day long.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just being real intentional about it. I think that that's the biggest theme here is making sure that this is part of your daily routine, is connecting with customers. And I think sometimes we think we're connecting because we're making that post on social, or we're sending an automated text, or whatever that might be going on in the background of your business.
Right.
But having real conversations is really where it's at. Oh, so good. Sure. Well, and I think that brings us back to really the beginning in direct sales, right? Like, it was always in home parties, chatting it up, connecting with people. And I always say that you build that relationship faster in person. It takes longer online. Right. It really does. As much as you voice memo people back and forth online, it can take a little bit of time to actually solidify that relationship, that you grab a cup of coffee or have a glass of wine with a girlfriend and spend 30 minutes and you're instant best friends and they're going to remember you.
Yeah. I feel like if we go back to the original Avon, Mary Kay days, whenever they were going door to door, literally, walking out of your car and up the driveway or the sidewalk, knocking on the door, talking to the little kid, is your mom home? Like, that just blows my mind, but it worked. And so I guess my question for your listeners is, what's your doorway? What is your sidewalk? What is your doorway to connect with your customers? Because we still need that doorway. We still need to connect and want to connect with them, because that is what sets us apart. I think that is the success. And how do we role model that for our team members? I think the other thing that we can fall into the trap of is, like, as leaders, okay, well, now we need to shift to just leading and supporting our team. And that is so true. I could do a whole separate podcast on how to lead your team. Sure. But I think that role modeling is one of the number one ways to lead your team. And how do you consistently role model that relationship with your best customers? And I don't think that everyone is our best customer. I think we have to identify and be intentional about who are our best customers.
I love that. Love that. Okay. So, Cindy, tell us, are there any common attributes that you would say that really make a direct seller successful? I know we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but anything that you would say to anyone listening, like, hey, like, if you can show up in this way, you're going to see success in this industry.
So I think that being consistent is really important. I think that, like we've talked about, building those relationships, and then just making sure that you love what you're doing, that you love the product, and that you love the mission behind the business, and that it aligns with your why. I mean, I talked about the why earlier, but if you love the mission and you love the product and you're using the product and it aligns with, what you're wanting to accomplish, then I think that is what I see in some of our most successful direct sellers.
I love it. So good. Okay. So, just for fun, since I wrap up my podcast asking this question, what's your favorite office supply?
Oh my goodness. I would have to say it's pens. I mean, like, I love colored pens. I love a good ink pen, and I'm pretty picky about my ink pens. So.
I'm right there with you. I might be a pen snob over here.
Yes, I'm with you.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Cindy, where do we find your book? How do we learn more? Of course, we know where to find 31 Gifts, but tell us where we can find the book, where we can read more about the story behind the business and your journey.
For sure. Well, you can ask your favorite 31 consultant. You can also find it on Amazon. And so it's More Than a Bag, and we have it in paperback, and you can also download it digitally on your Kindle. So Amazon.com, or find your favorite 31 consultant and support her.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. I know you're a very busy lady, so I so appreciate it. And I know our listeners are going to gain so much from listening in today. So thank you again, Cindy. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
This episode is sponsored by the Modern Direct Seller Academy. The Academy is currently open for 2023 enrollment. Not only do you have access to courses, toolkits, social media graphics, and training that you can implement right away in your direct sales business, you're also connected with over 500 like-minded direct sellers that are looking to connect, collaborate, and brainstorm with you. You'll have me as your business coach in your back pocket, as well as invitations to live events where you can connect and collaborate in real time. We have an amazing community of go-getter direct sellers, and we would love for you to join us. If you're looking to up-level your business in 2023, this is for you. Join over at moderndirectselleracademy.com. Enrollment is only open for a few more days, so this is your opportunity to sneak in and join us to truly make 2023 the best year yet. We look forward to seeing you over on the other side. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Modern Direct Seller Podcast. For more sales tips, strategy, and systems for your direct sales business, visit your one-stop shop, moderndirectseller.com. Until next time, get out there and go rock your biz.